let's get this out of the way. Which girl are you rooting for? Because I know who I'm rooting for, but I need to know where you stand.
If he don't go for Kana Arima, then what is the point of this entire show?
Listen, I'm more of an Akane Kurikawa guy.
Nuh-uh. No, you're not.
But we'll get into that. Hello and welcome to the Nerdiest Podcast, the show where nerds talk about nerdy things. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Nick with no K, and as always, I'm joined by my ride or die, Mr. Jackson Glass. And today, we are going to be continuing Jackson's anime adventure with the hit anime Oshi No Ko, which is what he chose on the last anime adventure we did that was Mashal, Magic, and Muscles. And as always, at the end, he's going to be picking the next show he's going to watch, which... My descriptions might not be as unhinged, but I guess you'll have to wait and see and find out. But before we dive into that, it's been a hot minute since we've recorded because we did the last two episodes in person together a month ago. So we've had a lot of stuff go on. So we're going to catch you up on what we've been doing, what we've been hanging out doing, watching, playing, living life, the whole 9 yards. So to kick that off, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Jackson Glass. How have you been? What have you been up to?
Whoa. Wow. Well, one, happy to be back. It's been a second. I know, it's not different for the listeners in any way, but it's different for us because when we pre-record, we don't get to record as often, and it's hard to be away. So it's good to be here. Recently, we've talked a lot about a little project we've been working on. We worked on a short film recently. And that's the main thing that happened while we were gone is that said short film, may or may not have gone to a little local festival, and it may or may not have won 5 awards. So, that's all I'm going to say for that. We're very happy with the work that we've done. And based on, if everything goes according to plan, if you go to The Glass Studios now, which is my YouTube channel, the GLAS Studios, there should be a trailer for said short film on YouTube right now, which will be out very soon. So you should go check that out because we're very happy with the work. We won best editing. I won best supporting performance. We won, what else? We won best long form. So pretty wide sweep. We're really proud. We're really happy with it. We want to keep doing films like that. We're really excited about that. So definitely check that out. That's the main thing I've been up to is working on that, editing that, finishing that, submitting that, going to festivals for that. I've also just been working on a lot of other projects that I can't really talk about now, but will soon. We're living in the kitchen, essentially, because we're never not creating. So... I've got a lot of stuff planned for YouTube and a lot of stuff planned for the podcast. And so lots of exciting stuff, always working, always in school. I'm doing some videos for people here. I'm very excited about. We've got doing some big events coming up that I made videos for. And so really just creating a lot. And I found my stride and, I've had some quick turnarounds on some videos and it's been forgotten about projects and had said projects due 2 days. Been looks like we're filming tonight. So I'm learning how to do a 24-hour editing turnaround, which is not ideal, but that's okay. We're learning, we're living, where we live, we laugh, we love. And that's on church. And I haven't really been watching a whole lot because we've been so busy working on stuff, but I did get to see a couple movies. I recently rewatched Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, which I think is a very funny movie. If you follow me on Letterboxd, you'll see that I give that movie 5 stars, which is a big deal. 5 stars on Letterboxd is not a lightweight. That is a big deal. I think Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan, right? Goated cast. I think it's one of the funniest movies that we've had in the last, maybe 10 years. I'm not saying the funniest. I'm saying one of the funniest, because we don't make legitimately funny movies super often anymore. And I feel like that one is just a diamond in the rough. So good. Moving on to another movie I watched that I did not like was I had to watch for a class the animated version of The Hobbit, which released in 1977. It was 90 minutes long and was the entire story of The Hobbit, if you need to know what the pacing was like. They were like, we're going to put the entirety of The Hobbit, the whole story, in 90 minutes. And so there was no time wasted. You're immediately in, and Gandalf is at his house and all this. And it just... the music was really good. Other than that, it wasn't it for me. There are some classic animated movies like that I think are bangers. And I know bangers. This is not a banger. So, I had to watch that. And then I haven't been playing a whole lot. Playing a little Minecraft here and there. Maybe a little Fork Knife here and there. Who's to say? I don't love the new season. So,
dude, the Fortnite fall off this season needs to be studied. I have not touched it at all. I do want to go back and play the Avatar stuff, because they added all of like the Avatar skins and stuff, and I want to get Aang. But I just haven't had the time.
Right. No, I haven't either, nor the desire. Because there's like freaking like wings and like all the like boss fights and stuff in it, and it's just like I can't even just get in a fight and like fight somebody without them trying to fly away like a little chicken. And it's just so incredibly annoying. And I'm just not about it. So played a little bit of that. What I have been playing though is we made the dangerous decision of putting EA Battlefront on the PlayStation here. And listen, if you play at the right time, you can still get into a full server. It has to be on like a Friday night at like 8 or 9 o'clock. You could get into a full like Walker Assault server though.
That's crazy.
Other than that, like specific time, like on weekends, you could get into like Cargo or Droid Run or a smaller game mode. But that has been incredibly nostalgic and fun. So if you listen to the childhood games episode that I did with my buddy Colin, we've been playing that. And what I've learned is I grew up in a different video game environment than a lot of people, in the sense of I don't really want to do PvP. That's not the way that I grew up. We were always like, my dad was always like, let's play this game and let's be a team, like teamwork. And then now I have like friends that play games and play like Battlefront or Fortnite and Smash and stuff. And they're always like, oh, let me fight you. And I'm just like, I don't want to freaking fight you. We're just both going to get pissed. Like, this isn't going to be funny.
That just sounds like you're bad at Smash and you don't want to lose.
All right. You know what? Some of us like to play it casually. But, you know, that's pretty much a recap of my week. I've pretty much just been, or month really, I've really just been doing a lot of school, and in between a lot of school, a lot of work, and in between a lot of school and a lot of work, worked on a lot of creative projects that I'm very excited about, and you will get to hear more of very soon. Go watch the trailer for Exit Interview. It should be on YouTube now. The Glass Studios, link will be in the description. Speaking of that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Nick Barrett, who also has been working on some fun stuff. Nick, how has your week/month been?
I'm just tired, man. I need to start, like, at the end of the year, when I go through and do, like, the out-of-context video again, I need to just have a segment that is Nick's yawn counter.
Yeah.
Because I swear I've yawned, like, 5 times this episode already, and we're barely, like, 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
I'm just tired. Like, I've been doing a lot, but I haven't, like, been getting a lot of sleep. So I'm running on, like, I get 8 hours of sleep, but it's not a restful 8 hours of sleep. It's, like, 8 hours from, yeah, I'm going to turn my phone off and, like, get ready for bed, to my alarm goes off and I need to get up and go to work the next day. So, but that being said, I also, like Jackson said, have been working on a lot of stuff. And actually, if you watch the video, one of the things I worked on last weekend was completely reorganizing my shelves. So if you watch the video version of the podcast, you can see my shelves are totally different. All of the manga is over here now instead of being split across the 2 bookshelves. This right here is my physical media shelf. So I got my 2 shelves of manga, my shelf of Blu-rays, and I mean, video games are up there. Took me a second. Video games are up there. And then the other shelf is going to be my Lego shelf because now I'm getting around to having the free time to putting together all of the Lego sets that have been on the floor over there since Christmas. And we're like halfway through April.
Bro.
And I haven't put them together yet. So now I have the space to put them together. So that's been great. I also hung a shelf above my TV. You can't see it, but it's really nice, actually. I like it a lot. It was supposed to go over my bed back here, but then I got paranoid that it was going to fall off the wall and everything was going to hit me in the head and kill me in my sleep. So I was like,
regular
if it breaks
stuff.
the TV, like the TV is replaceable if it falls off the wall. Me, not so much.
Debatable.
So, yeah, I've been doing that. I've been working on a lot of content, and I promise I'll get to that in a moment. But so much so, the one thing I haven't been able to do in a month is play Persona 3 because I've been so busy between full-time work, social stuff like church, outside of work, social stuff with coworkers. It was really busy because we had like Easter weekend that was like... So at my church, we had service Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Easter weekend was I'm at church Friday. I'm at church Saturday, but I was out with my coworkers all day Saturday before church. And then Sunday we had church. And we didn't have D&D, but we were still busy. And then we flowed into the week, which I was then busy again. And then like last weekend was really weird because I got to go to a wedding last weekend, which was actually really awesome.
Shout out.
I went to the wedding of our fearless graphic designer.
Yes.
Miss Zoe is now married. Congratulations. It was such a great time because like we've been friends for a while.
Right.
And it was like that awakening of like, oh, we're all getting to like
we're adults.
The time to get married and like become adults phase of life. So that was really
crazy.
Fun and exciting to go to.
Well,
but then like that also threw off my schedule because I could usually I work on Sundays. Like, oh, I'm gonna edit, I'm gonna do whatever, and I didn't have that day.
Well,
so
that's wild because I will always know her as Zoe Ott. Like it'll always be
and
like
now she's not.
Now she's not. And I'm like gonna have to catch myself because like she has a new last name now. And I'm just like, bro, like this is crazy. But yeah, she's our fearless graphic designer, does incredible work for us. So thankful for her servanthood and giving us discounted prices. So shout out, congratulations.
We're like going to her every 6 months. Hey, can you do another thing? We found another thing that we need. I actually probably will go back to her again because the one like big thing I've been working on is, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know, is I started uploading on Nick with No K again, which was my like, I made that channel as a way to like post all of my school projects and move into sketch comedy when I was trying to copy Jackson because I thought that was cool.
If you listen to the 100 episode, you know the whole story.
Yeah, and then it just didn't work out, so I didn't upload at all. And we had been going back and forth a lot behind the scenes, and actually pre-recording gave me the space to slide Nick with No K into the schedule somewhere. So right now I'm just posting like shorts. It's mainly, it's only right now anime stuff because that's my new outlet for like, I'm going to talk about this anime. I'm going to talk about this manga. There'll be some like one-off, like, oh, I'm going to do a video game video, or like I'm gonna do live streams. Like it's in the beginning phases. Like I haven't really started a crazy rollout of content. I've also reached the point where all of those videos are going to be edited by someone else. All the long form videos are going to be edited by someone else, which is a big deal for me because I have a very hard time. Yeah. I have a very hard time of letting projects go because I have a very high quality standard for myself. So this whole process of like letting those projects go and just being like, hey, I'm going to describe what I want to the best of my ability and let someone else edit it and not even worry about it. I'm going to edit shorts because they're pretty simple and easy to do, and they have a pretty quick turnaround time. Plus, I'm paying someone to edit, so like...
If you can save some money on those shorts.
I can't pay for everything. Yeah, we got to save some money somewhere. So like, that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do. So, yeah, uploading on Nick with No K again. That's been really fun. There should be an update video out at some point that's like, hey, welcome back to this channel. Here's what's going to happen in the future. Yada, 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 so on and so forth. So that is the kind of fun thing that we did over this break, even though there was no break in content. The break for us was we are now doing our own YouTube channels separate of the podcast. Which is also nice because for me personally, I didn't feel like I had a brand or a personality outside of the podcast. So now I have like 1,000 Twitter followers, which happened this week. That was crazy. And then I have like this YouTube channel. So that exists outside of the podcast. And then Jackson has his own stuff that exists outside the podcast. And then we come together for the podcast. So that's been really fun, really nice to get into. What else? I don't think there's anything else I've done.
Sorry, I was just checking your channel because it looks really good. And I was like, oh my gosh.
It does look really good.
Because your shorts are actually doing really well. Anyway, I just had to pull it up because I was like, I haven't seen it, haven't like checked it recently. Yeah, this was a long conversation because we were essentially at a crossroads where we needed to decide, do we go gung-ho on the podcast YouTube channel and like make original content there and put it out there and this and that? Or do we let the podcast channel be for the podcast alone and do our own individual original content? And we kind of realized, and it took us too long to learn this, but the YouTube algorithm rewards those that stay in their lane. So essentially, if you want to talk about anime, you should talk about anime. And you can like go or like veer off a little bit if you build a loyal audience, but you know, they need to know where to categorize you and where to promote you to. And so when we posted full podcast episodes and original like commentary, like movie news stuff, it just confused YouTube, and it wasn't like good for anyone, and it wasn't growing, and it was kind of hard to like make the content, and then it didn't go anywhere, but then we like didn't know if we should do something else. So anyway, essentially the podcast YouTube channel will be where full podcast episodes go, and then we are individually making pretty much whatever we want on our individual channels. So if you're not subscribed to Nick with No K or The Glass Studios, they will be linked in the description, and you should subscribe there because we're going to be doing amazing original content, some of it together, some of it separate. Also, if you didn't know, the Nerdiest Podcast has a YouTube channel, and you can watch full episodes there with shorts and clips and some old original content is there. There's not going to be any new stuff. So you should subscribe on that. That was a habit that I need to break because anytime we pitched the YouTube channel, I've been like, we have amazing original content on there. I need to be like, no, we don't. don't say that.
No.
So yeah, we're very excited about that. I think this is a good direction to go just for us personally and just to kind of have more fun because I really hate creating for an algorithm and creating to get like seen in an algorithm because it just takes the joy out of creating. So I think this is a really good middle ground of like podcast can be podcast. Nick can make what he wants and not have to worry about it being like part of the brand. I can make, short films and just kind of throw them out there and see who wants to see them. And so I think we're very excited about the direction that this is taking. And I think it's going to be very good.
And to your point of like keeping things in the brand, I felt like, and we've talked about this extensively, is the original content almost had to be put in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more like me specifically, because I was the big like pusher of original content. So whenever I wanted to make content, it had to then go through like these 4 different layers of how does that fit in the podcast YouTube channel brand box. And how can we like pull this idea apart and like make it work in there? Which is how you ended up with videos like, oh, here's the 5 best anime movies, which isn't the original idea I wanted to make, but that was the box that fit. So now, like with Nick with No K, and I joked about this in the voice message I sent you. It was like, my chains have been broken, like that meme where he's like standing in the sunset and the chains are broken. And I'm like, I can do whatever I want. And I really can, because it's my channel. So like if I want to tank it with a video, that's on me.
Right.
It's not going to affect the podcast. So I have been able to have this freedom to just do whatever I want. And I have a whole like notes document of video ideas that need to be scripted. And like, it's also pushing me in a different way, because I've always strayed away from video essays because I'm like, oh, I don't want to write and then just read a script. Like, so I'm kind of doing a mix of both of like the videos like, oh, hey, you should go deserialized, or like get that app, or here's movies, like the on-camera stuff, but then also have like, I just recorded a voiceover video essay a couple nights ago, and it was really simple. It was like a 6-minute audio file, and I just sat here and read the script, and that's kind of how I like doing it. So I'm like experimenting with content and trying to figure it out. And yes, staying in your lane works very well, because if you look at the podcast shorts, the view number is wildly inconsistent because the niche changes every single short. Whereas with like Nick with No K, the shorts I've been posting are all very consistent because every single one has that anime hashtag in it. So YouTube knows exactly what pool to put it in, instead of being like, all right, you had 2 anime shorts back to back. Now let's change to Marvel and then Star Wars and then DC and like Legos and just changing everything. So like having the podcast works that way because people are listening and that's what they're here for.
Yeah.
But YouTube doesn't like that. So
yeah, that makes sense. So,
that's all I have.
We're balling. We're
Frick it, we ball.
Essentially even more of the best content that you want. It's just in different places. So make sure you're subscribed out there. And we'll be doing some good stuff. Also, while we're at it, you can follow us on Instagram at The Nerdiest Podcast or Twitter at Nerdiest Pod. Or if that's not enough for you, you could become a Spotify member. And for a very mild-mannered, like $4 a month, if that, it's $3. For mild-mannered $3 a month, you could have access to our monthly after show, which is exclusive content only you get to listen to, with an extensive backlog of episodes that you can also listen to. Speaking of the after show, we have an update about that we're very excited to share. Now, before, the after show was just very casual. We kind of jumped on and talked about whatever we wanted. It was a lot like this, and it was very just whatever was going on at the time. Sometimes we'd play games. We'd do like tier lists or stuff like that. But we were really like wanting to give the after show a reason to exist and give you a reason that you would want to listen to it. So we're happy to announce that the after show will be starting a new Nerdiest Podcast movie club. Now, what does that mean? Every month we will be getting on to talk about a different movie, but the thing is, we will take turns picking movies to talk about, and they're all movies that the other person hasn't seen. So I have a list of movies that I like that Nick has never seen. He has a list of movies that he likes that I've never seen, and we're going to take turns picking and watching them. And we give you enough heads up to where you can watch them too and then listen to the episode and be in on the conversation, and we get to build a little community and a little movie club, and it gets everyone watching more movies and learning about new movies and hanging out and having a good time. Now, if that wasn't a good enough pitch for you to join, the April episode is my pick, right? This will come out at the end of April. My first movie pick for us to talk about is a movie I would never talk about on the main show. But since it's the after show, it's very special. And so for April, we will be watching Tropic Thunder and talking about it there. So if you'd like to hear our thoughts on Tropic Thunder, you should go join the Nerdiest After Show, and you too can be in on the conversation. Very exciting. $3 a month. Cannot wait. Thank you very much. Now, this is kind of random, but I have some thoughts, and it's kind of a big event that happened while we were away per se.
Well, yeah, we're not supposed to be here, dog.
Right, of course. It was a whole thing. Tell me, what was your solar eclipse experience?
Non-existent, bro. I kid you not, it was overcast all day. Except
so sad.
So the eclipse was supposed to, like, I think the peak was like 204.
Right.
Was the totality that we were getting. I kid you not. At 4 o'clock, the skies were crystal clear. But up until then, it was overcast all day.
So
and I was like, somebody didn't want us to see the eclipse. We saw it a little bit. There were little brief parts before totality where the clouds were thin enough that you could see it through the clouds.
Right.
What was more exciting than the eclipse, though, was because it was while I was at work. So we kind of made like a thing out of it. We got pizza. My manager got us eclipse glasses, but she also got us moon pies, like to fit the theme.
Right.
Half the office had never had moon pies before.
No.
And I'm sitting here like, what do you mean? You've never had a moon pie before.
This offends the
so
Chattanooga
the half of
natives.
The office,
like,
yeah, no joke. Like, that's where they're made. So the half of the office that hadn't had him tried him.
right.
My manager didn't like it. One of my coworkers liked it. The other one didn't. So it was like not a good split.
It's like 50-50, you know.
I'm not saying moon pies are great. I'm just saying you should try one. At least so that you have one.
That makes sense.
Other than that, it was just a Monday. I don't want to say I enjoyed because I didn't. But like in hindsight, from where I'm at now, hindsight, I hated / enjoyed. I have a love-hate relationship with all the conspiracy theories that were like, the world is going to end. The rapture is going to happen when the moon crosses the sun. And I'm like, okay, but you do realize it's at a different time. Like, it's not like there's one set time where it's the sun, like, the moon's in front of the sun. Like,
right.
That's not how this works.
It's like the West will get raptured first, and then it'll just slowly move in. And we just so, like, if you live in like New Hampshire, you'll know it's happening, and then just be like patiently waiting. See,
we did make a joke about what music we would play, or like what music God would play during the rapture, and like, are we gonna get some like Mario game end credit music?
Right.
Or is it gonna be we did look really ridiculous because I turned on the credits from Super Mario 64 and we were standing outside the building.
It's actually really funny.
Where you can, like, right after totality, we were standing outside the building and you can see us from the street, and we all like stood there like this and just went
with their arms wide open,
like we were being pulled up. And I'm like, the people who are watching us on the street probably think we're insane.
That's so funny. See, the best
what about
part
you?
of
Did you get to see it?
I mean, sure. I mean, the best part of the eclipse for me was I got a 20-minute break from class, and I'm in like a 3-hour class right now. And so like we got a 20-minute break to go outside and watch it. But we only had like 2 pairs of eclipse glasses, so we all took turns like looking at it. And so there's a really good picture that someone in the class took. It's like stupid high quality of me staring directly at it. Like I took my glasses off and like opened my eyes really wide and like looked directly at it just to be like, guys, it's gonna give me superpowers. I looked directly at it in 2017 and it gave me superpowers then. I don't see why it won't now. So
what superpowers did you get?
It gives me the ability to know what people are feeling by completely making up what they're feeling in my head and deciding it's true. So just so you know.
Gaslighting yourself.
No, it's a superpower. It's I can read people's minds.
No. Gaslighting yourself is the superpower, is what you're saying.
I mean, in a sense, you could say that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's real. So we were in the path for like 98% totality, and it got like dark. But I was like, if this is 98% totality, is 100% totality really that impressive? But then I saw this video on Instagram of this person who was like, this is the difference between 99 totality and 100. And it was like 99 was like kind of dark, whatever. And then 100 was like pitch black, like dark, like nighttime dark. And I was just like, how is that? Is this like the computer update that's like 10, 20, 30, 100? Like, is that how this works? Or because it's like 99% is like it gets a little dim and then 100 is pitch black. So I don't know how that's supposed to work. But like we just kind of went out there and we watched it. We did the same thing where we were like, what song are you playing? But we kept playing horns really loud to make everyone think that it was the rapture.
That is funny.
And so and I made a really awful joke and I was like, guys, is that the horns? And then I played the intro to Industry Baby. And it was really funny. We were just like, guys, it's the rapture. It was really awful. But no, we just kind of took turns wearing the glasses and looking at it. I think my favorite tweet so far this week was we for real got a Fortnite event in real life. And it was like pictures of everyone looking up at the sky, and I was just like, that is so incredibly accurate.
They should do an eclipse in Fortnite for all the people who don't live in the path of the eclipse.
No,
you know what
right,
I'm saying? Like,
right.
why do they get left out?
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
I feel like
I just love that every time anything happens now, like
right.
This is just a thing. Anytime anything happens, like before, it was the emergency alert test. It's like, that's going to trigger
right.
the rapture.
It's gonna be the end of the world. It's gonna.
Not that this is related to the podcast at all.
Right. No.
But I want to speak to all the Christian content creators out there.
We've been
Stop.
wearing.
You're making us look stupid. When every time something happens, you're like, this is the end of the world. No, it's not. It's just another thing. And if it is the end of the world, it doesn't matter. What?
We've been wearing our conspiracy theory hats these last few episodes. Like we've really gone off.
We just let it go, guys.
God says he'll come like a
and
thief
now
in
they're
the
like,
night.
oh, guys, there's another eclipse in September.
Another eclipse.
That's going to be it. And I'm like, oh, great. Another
awesome.
5 months of us talking about an eclipse that's going to just be another eclipse.
Right. Here's the thing.
And they're like, but it's going through all these towns named Rapture and Nineveh and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. Okay. What do you want me to tell you? The Bible says nobody knows. And that means you don't know.
Yeah. See, here's my problem with the eclipse is that everyone talks about it like it is a life-changing event. Like it is a once in a lifetime thing that you will never see again. One, it's cool. I will admit that it's cool. And I think that it sucks that I don't think we have enough events that everyone gets to gather for. You know, like not the entire world, but like there was a lot of people, a ginormous group of people that got to like be together outside and like just be there with each other and have a fun experience. There's not enough of that. That being said, it's the moon in front of the sun.
Yeah.
You know? And this is the second one I've seen in my lifetime. I've seen another one. And I'm 20 years old. And we're going to
see a third one.
And I get to see another one in like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like it's cool, but also like it's not the coolest thing in the world. You know? Like it's awesome. I'm glad we get to do it, but I'm not going to make watching the eclipse my personality, you know?
Right.
So,
like it was cool to get a, not a full day off work, but like
right. But also there's like
we were kind of just moseying around waiting for the eclipse anyway. So
I feel like there's a really awkward moment after the eclipse where you're like, well, I guess we should go back inside.
Well, the joke with all my coworkers was like, oh, well, we didn't get raptured. Guess we're stuck here.
And then I texted you and I said, bro, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven. Where are you at?
I was like, I love that text so much. Where I'm like, I checked my phone. I'm in heaven. Where are you at? I'm like, oh.
Oh, no.
I'm still here. Don't worry. I'll do the podcast without you. We'll be good.
Missed it. Well, see, no, because my totality was like 159 and yours was 204. So I was just like 6 minutes ahead of you being raptured.
Yeah.
Like it just took a little more time for you to get there.
Yeah. Hey and guys, first episode live from heaven. Actually, and we're here.
Welcome.
That's
welcome
why
back.
it's so so bright outside.
Yeah, and then I got to heaven and I was like, OJ, what are you doing here? And
stop.
Anyway, oh gosh, I was gonna say something. I cannot remember what
I know.
it was.
I was gonna say something too, and I totally forgot.
It was in this 3-hour class that we watched The Hobbit, and so we literally got back inside and turned on the movie, and I was like, we for real just got recess so we could come back and watch a cartoon. Like college is just kindergarten part 2. Like this is not real.
Legit. They say like that's not gonna fly in college, but then your professor lets you sit in the back of the classroom and play Smash for 4 hours with your friends. Like they don't care.
No,
because the professor gets paid either way. If you flunk, that's on you.
Dude,
because
my dad,
like college is so different because it's like if you
real.
flunk, that's on you. You're paying for the class. 1st through 12th, it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to finish this.
Right.
Like this is the mandatory part of school. And then anything after that, like I don't care.
Dude,
if you don't want to pay attention, that's on you.
My dad is a professor, so I'm in some of his classes now, and he told me today, he was like, because we have a quiz due Friday, and he was like, yeah, I intentionally made the quiz really confusing for anyone that didn't come to class because like there's a real like attendance problem where like, sometimes people just don't show up for like 2 weeks. And I'm just like, bro, how are you going to pass this class? Like, I don't have the guts to not go to class for 2 weeks. See, here's the thing. I have yet to skip a class this semester except for spring break, and I have Quizlet Premium, and I'm still stupid and have like a D in history. Like I'm
Quizlet
stupid.
Premium, dog.
Okay, I did it for one test because I got a free trial for like $1, and so I'm using it for like the rest of the semester and then canceling it right before.
It's fair.
So that's the story. So, anything else before we move into our actual topic today? We kind of we had a lot to say about a lot of
I told you we would be fine
stuff.
without news.
Right, you're right. I'm sorry. We had a lot to say about a lot of random stuff. We kind of have the zoomies because we haven't recorded in a while.
Zoomies. Yo, okay, slightly off topic, but this is gonna be short. Have you ever had those Bywaters? Like that you see at the store. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So we went to Publix this week for lunch, like to pick up lunch. First of all, I tried a salad. That was new. I've never had a salad before.
You've never had a salad?
No.
What kind of salad?
I am 21 years old and I've never had a salad. It was a Cobb salad.
Okay, that's a good choice.
But it was like a Publix Cobb salad. So it was lettuce, carrots, pecans, I think,
okay.
craisins, and chicken. And it was pretty good.
That actually sounds
The
good.
worst part of it was the dressing because it was just like a vinaigrette. And I hate vinegar.
I don't do vinaigrette.
And it was gross. Like I would have eaten the whole salad if the taste of the vinegar on things didn't give me a gag reflex.
You got to just do like ranch on that junk. Like just
Yeah, I know. I got to find a different dressing to put on it. But with that, while I was there, one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, can you pick up a coconut bywater for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. No problem. Venmo me back, whatever." So while I was there, the bywaters were buy one get one. So I was like, "Oh, okay. I want to try one. Let me try it." Sure. I get the free one. So we get back to the office and we're sitting there eating and I'm drinking this bywater and I'm starting to like feel a little jittery and I'm like, what?
Right.
It's just like a flavored water.
Right.
Drank half the thing. I'm like, man, I'm feeling so awake and alert and like
right.
a little jittery.
I can smell color.
Turn around. There's 55 milligrams of caffeine in it, dog.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like a lot. But let me preface by saying I don't drink caffeine at all. And I never have. I've never drank coffee. I've never drank caffeinated tea. I've never drank caffeinated soda. So any amount of caffeine, like, makes me go crazy. I didn't even finish it. Because I was like, I don't need this caffeine.
See,
I
that's
was like,
weak
I can't
sauce.
do this.
Some of us are pounding like 4 coffees a day.
I know, and that's not healthy.
Hold on. Let me look up. I had a drink at Starbucks that made me a little jittery. I'm trying to remember what it was.
That doesn't surprise me. You know what I want to try? My coworkers keep telling me I should get the charged lemonade from Panera.
Oh my gosh. I think that would legitimately
like 400 milligrams.
I think that would end your life. Like I think your heart would stop
and I would die. They're like, you should do it. And I'm like, no. I don't feel like dying. I might. I don't know, man. So yeah, I have half a bywater sitting in the fridge at work that I need to finish. It was good. I just didn't want the caffeine. You know what I'm saying?
So I always get a grande brown sugar oat milk shake and espresso. That is my favorite thing at Starbucks. Is that a large, medium, or a small? Medium is grande is medium. So like,
thank you for translating to real people words.
Right, of course. So a grande shaken espresso from majestycoffee.com. I don't know if this is, a credible source or not. A grande shaken espresso at Starbucks typically consists of 225 milligrams of caffeine. They're so freaking good, bro. They're so good because it's 3 shots of espresso in a shake. Like, they're so freaking good. And then last time I went to your house, I tried to get one of these shaken espressos, like a grande, and for my drive. And so I was like, okay, and I pulled up. She misheard me and got me the venti, which is like the huge one. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. And I drank the whole thing on the way there. And I was like, I was never been more alert on the road, and I was singing show tunes, and like I went through like 3 different musicals and like sang every word. I was alive and well. And then we went to McKay's and I bought like 10 movies. Like I was doing amazing. And then
you were living high.
I was living large. And then by like 8 p.m. I was like like I was done.
Exactly. Caught up and it killed you.
And then that night we watched episode 1 of Oshi No Ko. Whoa.
Oh, great segue.
That was my segue.
Great transition.
Thank you very much.
So, general thoughts. How you feel? We've talked about it a little bit, but I haven't heard your full thoughts.
First things first, I'd like to preface. If you have not seen Oshi No Ko, 1, we will be doing spoilers for season 1. 2, it is a more adult show. just in the themes. Like, there's nothing bad in it.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's nothing bad in it. It's more like maybe a 16 plus, just comes there's some pretty serious themes in it that like shouldn't that are not light.
It's not a fun little high school romp like Love is War.
It's not funny ha. It's funny weird. And
yeah, pretty much.
So context. I need to get this out of my system because I need people to understand how bizarre this entire show is. Because the first episode is about an OGBYN who is really into this pop star. Like, he's a big fan. Turns out she's one of his new clients. That's super cool. Anyway, he gets to, be her doctor. That's cool. Right as she's about to give birth to her children, he gets pushed off a cliff. He dies, right? But he's not dead. He is reincarnate as his favorite pop star's child. Okay?
Yes.
And then this is the big spoiler, right? So if you haven't seen it and you want to watch it, this is your point right here to drop off. Later in that episode, she gets murdered, like murdered. And the rest of the show is him climbing his way through the entertainment industry so that he can solve her murder. But he's like growing up, but still has some memories as in when he was a doctor? Listen. Here's the thing. The first episode of Oshi No Ko is 90 minutes long. And when you told me that, I was like, what the actual frick? Like, why? Why does the first episode need to be movie length? Now that I've seen it, I understand. Because there's a lot of predisposition that has to happen before you can get into what the story actually is. So essentially, there is a 90-minute prologue to set up this entire dynamic story. And I don't know how to feel, because on one hand, I think the entire show is an incredibly honest and deep look into the entertainment industry and how, especially related to like children and like, the Nickelodeon documentary just came out. Like, this is a big conversation right now. And I think it's a very honest look into what it means to be an entertainer and what it looks like to be on the internet while doing that and being an internet content creator and dealing with criticism and this and that and like not having support around you, while also being an incredibly gripping like crime thriller. And I don't know how it's pulling that off. While I really like the commentary and the theme, it's similar to how I feel about Bo Burnham comedy, in the sense of it's so incredibly deep and necessary and is executed very well, but is not always fun to watch because it's so real and it's so heavy. And it depends on the episode because Oshi No Ko goes in waves, and so it's like episode 1 is really like, okay, this is weird. And then you're like, holy crap, she's dead. And then it's kind of like we're finding our footing. Like, we're going to figure this out. And then it just like jumps off a cliff. If you know, it like, that may not have been the best term.
Cannot do that to my girl, bro.
It just, there's like 3 episodes where there's literal like content warning for like intense themes. So like, it's just like really deep for like 3 episodes. And then it's like, all right, we're okay. We're going to figure this out. It's going to be okay. And I like the dynamic viewing experience that watching the first season of the show brings, because there is a lot of characters. There's a lot happening, and there's almost like 3 plots happening at the same time. But they balance them really well, and they're all important and interconnected. And it's almost set up similar to how a video game story works, in the sense of like, you need to complete task A so that you can get to B. And once you get to B, you have to complete task B to get to C. And so it's very much like, if I do this, I get this information. And then with this information, I can do this. And then I get more information, which I can do this. And so it's a very well thought out crime story and like a mystery. But I also like sometimes forget about the crime and the mystery, and I'm just invested in the characters. So generally speaking, there is once or twice where I feel like the show is confused and it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like, because they're using their A-B plots like so interchangeably, it's either like, oh my gosh, we have to solve this murder, or it's, LOL, I just want to be like a pop star. And so they're like, while they're connected, it's a little jarring at times, but I also really, really enjoy both plots and am invested in both. And so I kind of let it slide. General thoughts, and then I'll let you give some of yours. I think the show is very, very well done. It's very honest. The writing is very good. The characters are insanely endearing. But it's not one that I could just turn on after a long day at work. It's kind of hard to watch at times, and it's very brutal. But I think it's necessary. And I still care very deeply about the characters, and I'm invested. And I'm so frustrated because the finale isn't really a finale. It's just kind of a to be continued, and we need to wait for season 2. And I'm just like, bro, like, I feel like I got no closure on absolutely anything, and like it's just started. I'm just like, dadgummit, they've got me on the hook though. Like, I'm in now. I'm like, dadgummit, I cannot believe that they've got me in on this show. So, I don't know. That's kind of general. It's kind of a little all over the place. What do you think? Give me a little general thoughts.
So, here's what I'll say. First, before I jump into my general thoughts, I do want to point one thing out. You mentioned he still has like some of his memories from the reincarnation, like Aqua and Ruby both do. And that is kind of the trope with anime reincarnation. Usually when it's done, is they have memories of like their immediately prior life, usually because the whole reason that trope exists. Like, I'm thinking of the anime where it's done. It's a lot of fantasy stuff. This was a very interesting, like, not a lot go this direction. But the whole point of them living the second life is to fix or correct some aspect of their previous life that they didn't fulfill. So, like, in this case, for Ruby, it would be like, oh, she didn't get to go on and have that big, like, I'm going to be an idol. I'm going to, like, do all of these things and get super popular. So now she's given a second chance to go and do that, which is what ties into her character of, like, well, I was bedridden and now I'm not. So, like, I'm going to take full advantage of this and not waste anything. And then Aqua's kind of up in the air. I don't know what to say about that guy. I have thoughts, but I'll, like, save them for as we go. Generally speaking, I love this show because I think it is, to your point, such an accurate portrayal of the entertainment industry, and especially what it's like for such young people to be in it with older people over them. And we see that specifically with all of the stuff with Akane, where, I mean, they openly say, like, yeah, we edited it so that she looks like a villain. Like, we did that. And Aqua's like, so are you going to take credit for that? Because you're the reason she got all this hate.
Right.
And that pushed her to do what she did. So, and it's kind of like this scummy adults, like, taking advantage of kids and how that affects. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Ai Hoshino. Like, the way she captures you in the first episode, and then you're, like, built to this higher point of you think, oh, you know what? She can do it. She can be an idol. She can be a good mom. She's figuring out. Gone.
Dead.
Ripped away.
Absolutely
literally
tragic.
Ripped away. And now you're like,
I can't.
What?
What?
And what's so interesting is, and I think the best part of the first episode is they show this idea of like reincarnation, right? But you know there's no way for her to be reincarnated. Like, she's not just going to pop up as someone else's kid and come back.
Right.
She's gone.
She was a once in a lifetime.
Right. And you know that based on the context, which then adds a lot more weight to that end scene where she's with her two kids, where she's like, oh, I hope you become an idol and I hope you become an actor. Like, those are her final wishes being passed on. So now we see Ruby's pulling her end, but Aqua's kind of like, I don't know, man. That's not what I want to do. Like, I'm gonna avenge my mother's death. And I'm like, okay, Mr. Edgelord, just go be an actor, bro. It ain't that deep.
See, here's my thought, though. Here's the thing, is I think that this show has so much dynamic, and there's so much going for it, and there's so much being said. I don't think we even needed a reincarnate story. I think he just could have legitimately just have been her child, and it would have been completely okay. Like, it was really like kind of beating a dead horse to add that aspect to it for me. And I understand the point, because like you said, like it made her death a little more powerful, because you're like, you know that she can't come back. Like, you know she's not going to. But I'm just kind of like, why did we have to include it anyway? Because now Aqua and I just have this really weird relationship that I really just don't know how to pinpoint. Because he was like kind of in love with her, but like,
in his defense, he doesn't know how to pinpoint it either.
But like every day Freud takes another W, because like he's really just like, do I love her, or was she my reincarnate mother? And it's just like, what the actual frick? Like, why did we need that?
It's such a small detail, and I think it's an easy one to look over, is he never, I genuinely don't think once in the entire first season refers to her as his mom.
No.
Ever. Like, Ruby will say, oh, I'm going to do this to be like my mom. And Aqua will say, well, yeah, I was pretty cool. Like, he doesn't have, and I know as the manga goes on that, like, we're just not far enough in for that development yet, which is why I'm really excited to go read the manga. And yes, before you say it, I know where we're at in the manga. I saw the panel, dude. I get it, but you gotta let Akasaka cook, bro. He's got a plan, okay? Just trust. And if we get to the end and there was no plan, that's something completely different. Anyway. So yeah, we're not far enough in for that development, but I know it's there. So like you said, it sets a really good groundwork and makes you want to keep going. They picked the perfect spot to end it off. And
because
like,
it's so
set up. You can wait.
It's so set up for the next season too, because you know exactly what they're going to be doing. And I'm just like, I want to see it. Like, he's doing the stage play with her old theater company, but also is torn between these two girls. And I'm like, here for the tea. But like, I don't know. It was brilliantly set up to be.
Let's get this out of the way. Let's get this out of the way.
Okay.
Which girl are you rooting for? Because I know who I'm rooting for. But I need to know where you stand.
If he don't go for Kana Arima, then what is the point of this entire show?
Listen, I'm more of an Akane Kurakawa guy.
Nuh-uh. No, you're not.
But we'll get into that.
Listen.
Here's the thing, though. I'm also at the point where I think it could go either way, and I wouldn't be upset.
It could go
like,
either
yes,
way.
I'm an Akane stan, but I'm also like, I wouldn't be mad if he ended up with Kana. They're both like the way they're written. They both fit very well. So
Which
I'm
is
not
how
like
a good like romance subplot should be. Is like you could go either way, but you have a favorite. I feel like Kana has been there since day one, and like they've had such an arc together. And then like, you know, I really hate that shows do this when they're in love, when they actually just have a trauma bond. And it's actually like, it's not actually love. Like he just saved her life. Like that's not it at all, guys. Like be so freaking for real.
right. Like I mean, I don't know. I feel like if somebody saved my life, I'd fall in love with them too. Like it's
right.
that,
But like,
it's that simple. I get it though. I get what you're saying.
So
we.
you're fine. I'm just swapping batteries.
What are we doing here?
I'm swapping batteries. Hold on.
Okay. Well, Jackson's gone.
I was gonna try to be subtle about it.
Yeah, be subtle in your camera turning off.
I turned it off.
Took the battery out.
I turned it off on OBS first.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Anyway,
as we wait for Jackson to come back, we're gonna go through this kind of episode by episode.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't feel like I have a lot more to say about the first episode.
No, it was really.
Other than
it's pretty compact.
You are so dark.
I know. I'm trying.
What did you do to your camera?
So yeah,
I'm just
what's
gonna
in
cut
episode 2?
Never mind. Episode 1 is I can't say too much about episode 1 because I'm gonna do a full video on it at some point. Not really episode 1, but like I as a character, because I really like her, and just her like electrifying personality that draws you in such a short amount of time. It's kind of like Rengoku in Demon Slayer. Like he wasn't there for very long, but you instantly love him because of like how well he's written, and then he's ripped away. Like just snatched away, and you're like never coming back. But the ramifications this character will have throughout the rest of the story is intense and immense. So that is really my thoughts on the first episode. There's one thing they didn't include from the manga, and that's these like little cutaway snippet interviews of a movie that is a retelling of what happened to Ai, which is actually where the manga's at now. They're filming that movie. But it was in like the first few chapters. At the beginning of every chapter, there was a like, let's have an interview with this manager, and then his wife, and then Aqua and Ruby, and like Kana,
Right.
and like all these different people on Ai. And it was always like, oh, it was so sad when we lost her. And it kind of like makes you think, well, what happened? Like, did she quit?
Right.
Is she dead? And then you get to the end and you're like, oh, she's dead. And that's
Yeah, I really like
you're instantly like, I want to.
I really prefer not revealing it until the end.
No, I think it works much better in the anime.
It's kind of like Tangled, and how Tangled works better without the prologue, where like if you didn't know Mother Gothel was evil, it would be like a much bigger deal. But like, you know, you're just told from the beginning, and then you're like, okay, I still want to know how this happens, but it's not as big of a reveal. So going into episode 2, and I'm trying to remember.
This is the one where she wants to be an idol. She auditioned for the thing.
Yeah.
And then she got rejected because he called her from a different phone.
Right.
And was like, you're
Dude.
rejected. And he's like, I texted them from her phone and said I'm pulling out, and then I blocked him. Like, he's such a manipulator.
Here's the thing. Like,
but I understand why he's doing it.
I know that he's supposed to be like a hero type thing, but I also really love that he is low-key insane. Like, Aqua is actually kind of crazy. and that makes him such a more interesting character. I really do think that he, like, being a control freak will end up, like, coming back to haunt him. Like, I'm so excited to see how that character ends up.
I also think there's something to say. I had a great point, and it's obliterated.
There's something to say.
I think there's something to say for the way and reason he does things. Like, he is a control freak, but it's almost portrayed in a good way because he... Actually, no, it's not portrayed in a good way. It's portrayed in a bad way for us as the viewer if you don't, like, look deeper than surface level. Surface level, this is just a guy who hates his sister and doesn't want anything... Like, he doesn't want her to do anything. But I think what you miss is that Ruby is 16 now, I think. I think they're both 16. Yeah. Which is, like, right in that prime era of where I was at. And he watched her, like, meteoric rise in his past life and then got to live through the more calm and comfort, like, motherly part of that, and then watched her die because she got so famous. And what he's doing, and you can pick it up in, like, the subtext, is he doesn't want the same thing to happen to Ruby. He's trying to prevent that from happening again. So it looks like it's, like, a manipulative control freak older brother, but he is really, like, leaning into that older brother who is overprotective.
Right.
And it bothered me every single time in this series when they called him a siscon for doing the bare minimum as a brother.
Right.
Like, no. Don't lump him in with the people who are like, yeah, I want to marry my sister. He's just like... Because when Kana's like, well, why didn't you ask your sister to skip school? In a later episode, he's like, well, I wouldn't be a very good brother if I told my sister to skip school. And she's like, oh, you're such a siscon. And I'm like... Yeah. No. As an older brother, you wouldn't tell your sister to skip school.
Like, he's
that
literally
would be a bad thing.
Also, like, she's, like, the only family he has. Like, of course he's going to be protective of her. Like...
Exactly.
I don't know. I think... I really don't like Ruby. I think she's so freaking annoying. And I'm just kind of like...
obnoxious.
Just kind of like, you know what? I was kind of rooting for Aqua. I was like, yeah, go for it. Like, you know, don't let her do that. I think you're right.
She's obnoxious, but that's just because she's young and doesn't know any better. And I think at some point, that's going to smack her in the face.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, her obnoxiousness is going to catch up with her, and she's going to get humbled real quick. And that will fix that problem.
So, looking at these episodes on IMDb, the highest rated episode is the first one with a 9.5. 9.5. That is the incredible score. And then the second top is Ego Surfing, which is...
that episode is so good.
Which is the most intense one. Right. Well, hold on.
It's intense, but it's handled really well.
It's crazy. It's a 9.3. So, like, this is a very top-tier show. And I also really... I'll get into that. That's too far. But I will also say I liked the back half of this show a lot better than the front half. And I understand because they had to, like, set everything up. But I felt like the first half we were really just doing side quests so we could assemble our team. And then we never got to actually do anything with them until the second half. And so, like, it makes sense. And I just need to be patient. And, like, I understand why. And it was a good move. It got a little... I got a little bored. Like, episode, like, 3 and 4, I was kind of and I was like, this is fine, it's good, but I was like, where are we going from here? And then it's like from episode 5 when they do like really get into like the dating show, and then after that, like, we just keep going. that's when it really picks up for me, and I like get a little more invested in the characters. But I felt like I really appreciated they were really, really intentional to spoof as many like genres of TV as possible and just be like, this is stupid. They're like, he's on a reality dating show. It's fake. Like, this is fake. It's dumb. Stupid. It's dumb. Like, he hates it, but it's a job. And I thought that was really not refreshing, but I feel like there's a lot of shows and movies that attempt to spoof the entertainment industry, and a lot of the time it feels very, how do you do, fellow kids? It feels very like, you're right, we're just one of you guys. And it's like, no, you are the entertainment industry. Like, you can't parody yourself to hope that we will like accept you more. Like, this is not how this works. This one feels like a very genuine commentary more than a checkbox of we need to make sure we talk about X and Y and the impact of Z. And so I don't know, this felt very genuine. It felt like a passion project, and I really appreciate it.
I think that's helped by the source material being outside of that.
Right.
Because usually when TV shows and movies try to do it, they're coming from an internal perspective. But because this series started out as a manga, you're kind of able to go all the way back.
Right.
And get a more like bird's eye view and go down into it.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, I'm in it. And like, it's a kind of like you can't see the forest for the trees type thing.
Right.
And I think that definitely helps.
That makes sense. And then, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about like 3, 4, 5. Like that episode run was like,
they're all pretty
good. They're good, but nothing like super intense happens. I will say, okay, this is more of a question. What's your opinion on Cheep Cheep, like as a character? Like,
you mean what's his name?
The freaking Cheep Cheep dude. I don't know.
No, I know. What is his name?
C P.
It's P something. It's not Pomni. That's the girl from Digital Circus. What? I just watched the episode last night. Why can I not remember his name?
The Cheep guy.
That's his name. What are my thoughts on him? I think it's fine. He's a workout streamer. Like, I don't know. I never took like a big issue with it. I did think it was a little funny. Man, Akasaka and his use of Twitter.
I was gonna say,
I know they took it out of the anime to an extent,
right?
But like they're
to Love
still
is War.
on Twitter again, which makes sense because there is like a special cover image panel that was out there where Kaguya did a photo shoot for Ai. So like that's kind of, it was like a bonus chapter or something. So we know that the unit, like, it's a shared universe, at least to that extent.
Right.
So it makes sense that they would be on Twitter.
Because he does that in Love is War, but it's much more utilized here. Oh.
It's a much bigger subplot.
Hold on. Okay.
So
sorry. I thought for a second that my audio was not recording, but it is. It's just delaying the waveforms.
Oh, I about had a stroke. I was like, could you imagine if we were an hour and 15 into this episode and you weren't recording? Yeah, I mean 4, 5, and 3, 4, and 5 is like,
right.
It's literally just setting up for episode 6.
The payoff is so.
That's all it is.
And
because you have to get him there.
Here's the thing. Episode 6 is intense. It's the most intense episode of the show. But it's so good. It is very well handled. Now, Episode 6 is ego surfing, and it's where Akane gets a lot of hate online from something she does on the show, and it just really affects like her well-being. And I think that this is such it. Guys, I'm going to say something that has never been said before. We need to talk about mental health. I know no one has thought about that yet, but I think we need to. But it wasn't like, it was such a good take because it was very much like, she is very young and, should not be on these social platforms, let alone being talked about on these platforms. And so, like, her descent into just chaos as she has no idea what to feel about being in the public eye this way is so incredibly deep. And it's not an issue we've ever had to deal with before. And so I really, really appreciated, one, how seriously they took that commentary, but also just the way that they emphasized, like, it's okay, you just need community. Like, you need to say when something is wrong, and you need to have a group of people around you that will help you. And so, I don't know. I thought, while in the moment, that was a very, very intense, like, watch. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And there's like a warning at the beginning. And the second there was a warning, I was like, this is going to be something. Like, I don't know. But it was very well handled, especially like as someone that has received criticism like that before, it takes over your entire body. Like you really just like, you feel this immense sense of just dread. There's a pit in your stomach, and it's just like, why does it have to be this way? Because especially like in her character, she just wanted to be an actress. She really just wanted to like act and have fun and, do what she's passionate about. And then all these people were like, hating. They hated it. And, it was just it's so incredibly sad. And, this podcast has received really awful YouTube comments before that we've just, had to kind of deal with. And it's just part of the internet, and it shouldn't be. And it's incredibly disgusting and awful. But it's just kind of like, we live in a fallen world, and we have to accept this aspect of being in the public eye. But it was very much condemned it and was like, hey, this is awful, this sucks, and she didn't handle this well, and this is how you should handle it. So I don't know. I thought that while that was not a fun watch, it was very, very well handled. And I appreciated it. So,
yeah, I think that's very well put. This is a very, it's a difficult episode to talk about because it is so heavy. And there's one thing I noticed rewatching it through is there's an inconsistency between the dub and the sub. And I think the sub gives a lot more context to the situation. It's when I want to say it's when they're at the they were like out for dinner or whatever, and Akane was talking, or maybe it was Kana. Someone said something about apologizing because that was like her first move was to go on the internet and apologize. And the dub audio says like, oh yeah, apologizing is like the first thing you should do. And then it brushes by. But the subtitle says apologizing is seen as the reasonable thing to do by Japanese people. That was the inconsistency, is the dub took out Japanese and just said most, which I think is such a big difference because that is how Japanese culture is they're very quick to apologize if they've done something wrong. And while that is kind of like the go-to, like, come on, don't act like Americans are the first ones to apologize when they've done something wrong. That does not apply to most people. So putting it back in that frame of reference really changed the tone, and he was like just such a little thing. But then also, I think it was Kana said, in showbiz, we ourselves are the content. That was straight bars, dude. That is
content.
Because especially in, I mean, like even with this podcast, we are the content. Like our commentary, our what we have to say about this show or movies or whatever, that's the content.
Right.
We are the content. Especially on like a reality TV show, you're the content. And
they're there for the performers.
I think what makes this so tragic is, one, I don't know a ton about this. I just know that that's what I heard. This little arc is based on a real life Japanese actress who was in this situation and actually committed suicide. So like, that undertone makes it so much more intense knowing that this does actually happen, and that's awful. And I feel like the internet has made it so much worse. Not saying it was never an issue before the internet, but the internet has made it so much worse because you can leave a bunch of anonymous, faceless comments about something and you feel no repercussions for that. But the person who reads it, especially if they are a genuine person like Akane, she took all of that to heart, which is something you shouldn't do. And it's something that I know we've both learned in being on YouTube for so long, is you don't take negative comments to heart. You almost put up like a shield that is your content, and you let that take the hit, and then you move on. Like I've learned how to dodge mean comments a lot in the last year after being on Twitter.
Same.
Like you'd be shocked. Actually, you wouldn't because it's Twitter, but the amount of like awful things that have been said to me on Twitter, like you kind of just got to brush it off and move on. But she took all of that to heart and internalized all of it. And something I want to note, and I didn't realize it until I was looking at the episodes, the description for episode 6 is very different than the rest of the episodes. The rest of the episodes is like third person talking about the characters and whatever's going on. Episode 6 flips it and is almost targeting at you, the viewer, because it's, remember what you said in Righteous Outrage Online? There were consequences. You never saw them, but that didn't make them any less real, nor hold you any less accountable. The fact that they're using you to shift it towards you as a person, not, Akane is going through some tough stuff in this episode, yada, yada. No, we're shifting it to you because this is a problem. We've seen countless. I mean, look at how many Star Wars actors have been bullied off the internet for things that they had no control over. Like Kelly Marie Tran got bullied for The Last Jedi when she had nothing to do with the writing of that character. She did the best with what she was given. Same for Daisy Ridley. Like, this is a problem. I'm not saying your criticisms are invalid. They're just targeted at the wrong thing. And even if you have an issue with the acting or what happened, you can get it across in a way that doesn't, like, demean people. Like, I don't know. You can do it better. And as an Akane fan, this episode hurt because you spend the entire episode, like part of the episode before this one, and then most of this episode, seeing how hard she's working, how she's like constantly taking notes, trying to figure out how to do her best, and just always practicing, rehearsing, getting this done. And then you have that one manager who's like, well, she's not on the show at all, so she needs to step it up. And like, it's simple things like that where you don't extend grace to people that put them in situations like this, because then everything after that was her consistently thinking about that and then trying to meet those expectations. And that's just so sad.
Yeah, and what I really, really like about this episode is the montage at the end where they compiled like voiceover of what they were saying online compared to what she was doing. And so there was like, I bet she's never taken a class in her life, but it's over footage of her taking all these classes.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I bet she has a different boyfriend every week over her like being alone and like all this stuff. And it's really, I really felt the point of that. It was very much like they don't know you. It was like they really think that they know and they don't know. And this is something like you said, we've had to kind of deal with before, and it sucks because it's just part of being online, especially like anonymous. The ability to anonymously say whatever you want is just absolutely criminal, and it's just really gotten us to a point where we feel like we're bulletproof. But also, I'd say this as someone who is studying parts of cybersecurity, if you think you're anonymous, you're wrong, because you're very much not. So consider that. But also, like, the second that we removed any accountability for words was the second that we started dehumanizing on the internet.
Yep.
And it was really just like, if you can say whatever you want with no repercussions. And that's why I really like that description, is it's like, you may not have seen the repercussions, but they were there, and that does not make you less responsible. And I'm just like, that is absolute bars. And that's where the show really hooked me, was I was like, this isn't just another we're getting the band back together show. It is a legitimate, like, deep commentary on a real issue that we don't really know what to do with yet because it's so new. So
Yep.
I also notice in this episode that she drove herself to this point because she was not open about her struggle and kept reading the comments.
Yes.
She kept going, was obsessed over it. She didn't step away and seek help, which is the answer, is to not buy into it. And, you know, most people's misplaced confidence is just their shielded insecurity. And that is one of the most important lessons I've had to learn this year specifically, is it's just like, listen, a lot of the people that leave comments on a YouTube video and say that you're stupid and wrong, they're jealous because they're not making YouTube videos.
Right.
And they want to, and they don't have the guts to do what you're doing, and that makes them mad, and they're taking it out on you. And, you know, they hate us because they ain't us. And that's really most of the situations that we fall into right now. And so, I don't know. I think we need to, before you say anything online, check your pride at the door and just think about the other human on the other side of the screen, because this is a real problem and you're talking to real people. But the way we've set up online interactions, we've removed the ability to see each other as humans.
Yep.
So I don't know. I thought that this was an incredibly good depiction of why we shouldn't let children on social media. And I was just like, here we are.
Another great example of why
just
kids shouldn't have social
another
media.
great example. So here we are. But then, like, the show really, like, has an upswing from here, like, in tone, because it was much more of a we're going to get the band back together type show right after this. Not in a bad way, but it was just the way that the story progressed, because after that, she learns, like, oh, I need to put on a character because I can shield myself if I put on a character. And that's when she turns into I, which is when Aqua realizes that he kind of likes her, which is weird.
Whoa. He doesn't like her. He likes her for what she can do for him. And that's a problem that he has. Because that was the whole point of episode 8.
He's a little transactional.
Where in episode 7, we have like our let's you know, save our friend here and put out the good word.
Right.
And like the producers weren't too happy about that. But then they're like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to take you know, you guys are a bunch of adults. She's a minor. Like, checkmate, liberals.
You gonna,
what do you want to do from here? So there's that. But then in episode 8, like, she comes out with this I act, which is incredibly, which The episode before it, where you see her like putting together all the notes, gives her a tinge of crazy, which I think is why she works with Aqua so well, because they both have that, like, he's crazy, but she's got this little like internalized tinge of crazy. She's an insane method actor. And it was like when
I really liked that.
Was like, oh, like I just figured, like, what if she had kids somewhere? And he's like, how'd you figure that out?
What
and
if
it was
she
at
did?
that point,
What if she did? I don't know.
Then he's like, well, I can't let Akane go because she knows too much.
I have a theory.
I'm gonna have to kill her.
I have a theory that. Do you think Aqua and Akane are just the new Joker movie, and they just get to be crazy together and sing songs? That's all I'm saying.
I know there's one panel, and it's gonna be in season 2, where I guess he gets a little upfront and honest about wanting to kill someone, and Akane is like, all right,
nice.
I'm in. Like, let's commit murder. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no,
they're crazy together.
Right. That's nice.
But then, like, this is the whole point of that episode is him then going out with Kana to be like, okay, I need to work this out. Do I have mommy issues or am I attracted to Akane? That's what we need to figure out.
Right.
And the result was mommy issues.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding, ding,
Come
ding,
down
ding,
and get your prize.
So,
yeah.
he's not in love with her. Yet.
So then the last 3 episodes kind of pull away from that story and really lean into their idol group, which I think is so fun. I really do think that the group, like the band dynamic, I think it's just fun. Like, I love movies like that, like School of Rock type, like, you know, let's just start a band. Like, why not? You know, let's just go for it. So I really like that. I also really love the struggling creator narrative. The, like, we're just trying to make it, you know, we just want to make stuff that we love and, like, hope other people like it. So I don't know. I think I also really like when Aqua, like, pretended to be the choreographer and, like, so that she would listen to him, which just emphasized his crazy even more. Is it's just like, dude is obsessed, and he's like, but the thing is, it all has an ulterior motive. Like, he's really just wants to solve the murder. Like, that's all he wants, and he's gonna go to any length he can to do it. So, like, I don't know, bro. He's kooky crazy. And then the last few episodes of, like, them, like, going to the festival and this and that, I was so mad because I was like, this is not the end.
No.
What do you mean season finale? This is not the end.
Why did you go into it with that expectation? That feels
I don't know.
That's
I was
on
hoping
you.
that it would. No, but I was like trying to figure out how it was gonna end, because there was like 2 episodes left, and I was like, we're not wrapping this up in the next 40 minutes. Like, that's not how this is gonna work.
No.
But it, like, ended on, like, kind of a cliffhanger, but, like, not. But also, like, I don't know. I'm pretty hooked at this point. So I don't know. I think the last 3 episodes are good. But this is kind of what I was saying earlier about, like, they have a lot going on, and so sometimes people, it's kind of like Community, where, like, sometimes they're just characters that just straight up aren't there because their you know, plot isn't important right now, and there's, you know, really valuable screen time that we need to give to our other characters.
Yeah.
So
Akane just disappears for like 3 episodes.
Yeah. And then we're like, oh no, where did I go? And then I remember she's dead. So I don't really.
Where did she go? Know. She's dead.
Why is she only in the first episode? That's really lazy.
It's really lazy, especially since she's like the poster child for this whole show.
But also, okay, this isn't anything we brought up yet. Of all the animes we've watched on this podcast, this is my favorite music of any show we've watched. Like, that opening theme goes absolutely insane.
You're welcome.
And, like, any of their music, and I really appreciate that because that's the point, is that they're musicians and they're artists and this and that. And so it's very like they really took the time to make sure they had good music in it. And I really appreciate that. And, you know, it wouldn't be the same if it was just like, you know, a montage of them singing and there's no actual music and you get like a little instrumental or whatever. Like, it wouldn't be the same. And so music was great. Kind of like wrapping up like the thoughts overall. I think that the show has a lot to say, and I really like what it's saying. I just need it to, and I think it's going in this direction. So I'm pleased with that. I need it to condense down to one thing so that we're not jumping all over the place with our plots, because there's a lot to cover. And I think that the point of this season was to essentially pull everything together, and we're all together moving forward now. So hopefully that's going to be fixed in the next season, which I honestly would watch. Like, I'm pretty invested. I'm into this. But that, and I don't think it needs any reincarnation. That's not even just a worldview difference. Like, I don't believe in that, but like, if it's in a show, I don't really care. I just don't feel like as a story it needed it. Like, it feels like a weird addition to an already really full narrative. And so I could have done without it and it would have been okay.
I think the reincarnation works better with Ruby than it does Aqua.
Yeah,
I think
I
Aqua,
can agree with that.
You could get rid of it for him and it wouldn't change that much, at least in the first season.
Right.
Other than that, like, I haven't read the manga. I'm not there yet, so I don't know.
Right.
Just going based off the first season, I think it wouldn't change that much. But with Ruby, like I said earlier, it kind of gives her that second chance to do what she wasn't able to do before.
Right.
So I also appreciate their dynamic and the dichotomy of them, which is also something I'm going to do a video on, of how her policy is, I don't want anything to be a lie. I don't want anything to be fake. And then on the flip side of the coin, he's like, everything is a lie. Everything is fake.
Right,
I will lie to get my way every single 10 out of 10 times.
Right.
So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I like, and now he's like kind of lying to get her where she wants to go. And she kind of knows, but kind of doesn't. And so, I don't know. I think they have an interesting dynamic that I'm excited to see explored more. I don't know. I'm excited. I really do like this show, but it's not, I definitely feel like I need a break now that I'm done watching it. Like, I'm ready to go watch something else. Like, it's one of those, like, you watch it all the way through, and then you're like, I need a breather. Like, this is great, but I need to catch my breath. But it's up there with one of my new favorites that we've watched on this show. I think it's top 3.
Okay.
Because my number 1 is still Love is War. And then Demon Slayer. And I would say Oshi No Ko's 3.
That's fair.
So, here we are.
That's very interesting.
Here we are. Do you have anything else to add, or should we pick out our next show?
I don't have anything else to add. What I do want to know from you is, what score would you give this out of 10? What is your personal score? Yeah.
What are you giving?
I gave it a 9.5.
Wow. That's really high.
I love this show, dude. Even the slow stuff, I enjoyed. Like, I just think it's well written. I also have that bias of, like, I love Akasaka, man. He cooks, bro. He's in the kitchen putting out 5-star meals, bro.
He's living in the kitchen.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to give this first season Like, because I don't want, like, 10s. Like, you can't just be
10s
giving
are
out
hard.
10s. You can't just be giving out 10s. But I need a valid reason for why I deduct points.
That's what I'm
I'm
saying. I don't
gonna-
have a valid reason to deduct points other than, I mean, the minus 0.5 is because I's dead.
Right.
And I don't like that. Otherwise, it'd be a 10 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a real solid 8.
Okay.
8 out of 10.
That is so fair.
It has some issues that I think could be resolved in the second season. That's kind of where I'm at.
We might have
Because
to
it
do the
was-
second season sooner than later.
Yeah.
If you like it
I'm
this
invested,
much,
bro.
I might just,
I'm invested.
might just, you know,
Might just throw
slide
it
it
on
in there
there, you
without
know?
letting you pick.
You know? Here's one more thing I'd like to say is we watched this on High Dive, and High Dive is so freaking stupid because
No, you're right.
you can't do subtitles on just like written things on the screen. You have
Dude.
to do the full subtitles. So like she's reading all these freaking tweets that are of course in Japanese, and I can't read it, but because I don't want the freaking subtitles on.
Thank you. You're cooking right now. That frustrates me because I couldn't understand what she was reacting to. I had to like turn the subs on, but then the subs don't match with what she's saying in
Right,
the dub.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
So like I'm a subtitle
Crunchyroll does
user
it, so
through
it's
and through.
possible.
I'm a subtitle
So-
user through and through, but if it's not lined up, then it's distracting. And so it's like, I don't know. That was so freaking annoying. And it's just, I wanted that grievance aired.
That's so fair. I respect that.
Okay.
I'm doing a video
All
on
right.
High Dive, and that is absolutely a point.
Good.
All right. So, that was Jackson's thoughts on Oshi No Ko. We'll definitely
Yeah.
come back and revisit for season 2. I don't even need to ask. I'm going to start like asking, would you want to watch more? I clearly can tell.
Yeah, I do.
So, we are now, or not we, Jackson is going to
We.
pick his next
Ooh.
anime. I have another 3 picked out. 2 of them are new. 1 of them is a revisit.
Okay.
I have some pretty bad descriptions here, which is the point. The theme this time around, the 3 options I gave you were school, family, and romance, and you
Okay.
picked family.
I did.
So, within that, we have. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Here's
I'm ready.
here's your descriptions for the
Okay.
next 3.
Okay.
One of the descriptions is actually kind of long. All right.
Okay.
The first one. An asthmatic teen and his friends fight the bad guys with the powers of schizophrenia. The second one. Handicapped brothers search to find Bloodstone while Eyeball Man and his 7 mentally challenged children work behind the scenes to turn people into rocks. And the third one. The story of a generational family feud that started over killing the family dog.
Can you read them all again?
I love these, actually. Okay. The first one. An asthmatic teen and his friends fight the bad guys with the powers of schizophrenia. The second one. Handicapped brothers search to find Bloodstone while Eyeball Man and his 7 mentally challenged children work behind the scenes to turn people into rocks. The third one. The story of a generational family feud that started over killing the family dog.
I'm trying to guess in my head.
I'm so torn because I want you to watch them all because they're all good.
Okay. Okay. I've made up my mind.
Don't figure it out in your head.
I've made up my mind.
Okay.
I want the asthmatic teen with his friends
Okay.
fighting with the power of schizophrenia.
Okay. So, I will tell you the 2 you didn't pick.
Okay.
The story of a generational family feud that started over killing the family dog
Right.
is the entire first season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay.
Which would have narratively come full circle because that's what I named this series after.
Okay.
The second one, about the handicapped brothers finding a bloodstone while an eyeball man and his 7 mentally challenged children work behind the scenes to turn people into rocks, would have been the first 20 or so episodes of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
That's what I thought. As I was like, oh, the handicapped brother was, I was like, oh, the dude's a rope. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the third one, asthmatic teen and his friends fight the bad guys with the powers of schizophrenia. Okay, before I tell you what it is, even though I know you probably know what it is.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you want to watch 22 episodes or 11?
What do you think?
The choice is yours.
I get to choose?
Yes. Because it will impact what I say we're watching next.
Wait.
You can have 11.
But I already chose.
Or you can have 22. No. I know you chose. But what I'm saying is you get to pick the amount of what you chose.
Let's go 11.
Okay. So you picked Demon Slayer Season 2.
Let's go.
So we're finally doing a revisit.
Listen, I've been waiting for this one because it was the first one. And I've been like,
we haven't come back to it in 2 years.
You wore your Demon Slayer shirt too.
Yeah, I was hoping that wasn't going to give anything away, but
I didn't even realize that. That's awesome. I'm so excited. That's one that I actually really like.
So,
and isn't the new season
the question
coming out?
was, the question was if you wanted to watch season 2 or season 2 and 3, and how far? Because we could catch all the way up,
right,
to season 3, or we could just do season 2.
Well,
so if you want to change your mind at some point, that's
well,
fine.
let's get through 2, and then if we're like, let's keep going, then I'll let you know.
Because they're short seasons.
Right,
they're only
not
11
bad.
episodes each.
Yeah, and I watched Oshi No Ko in like 2 weeks, so like it's not too hard.
Yeah,
if it's a
easy
show,
money,
if it's
bro.
a show I like, it's not hard.
I'm so glad we finally get to go
Praise
back to
God.
Demon Slayer.
We finally get to go back to peak. Let's go.
Don't let the anime fans hear that.
I
They'll
don't
get
care.
angry.
I don't care. They, they should touch grass.
No, you're right. You're right. You're cooking there.
All right. Well,
They do need to go out and touch some grass.
Here we are. The end of the episode. If you like this episode, consider 5 stars. And there'll be a question. If you're on Spotify, there'll be a question. Go answer the question. Tune in to Jackson's Anime Adventure next, where we'll be doing Demon Slayer Season 2, at least Season 2. And maybe we'll do 3, who's to say. So, unless you have anything else to say, I think it's time to wrap up. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Nerdiest Podcast. We're so glad you joined us. We're very happy to be here. If you like the show, feel free to give 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are listening. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast to keep up to date. On YouTube, the Nerdiest Podcast, and our independent YouTube channels will be linked in the description, where you can also see original content from us there. Make sure you give 5 stars, share with a friend, because word of mouth is the best way for us to grow. Tune in 2 weeks, and we'll see you then for another amazing episode. Until then, bye.